It may not happen in this building. It may not happen on the mountaintop, but it happens. And each of us has had a glimpse at one time or another, in one way or another, of who Jesus is for us and for the life of the world. Such moments can inspire us to proclaim with new boldness and conviction that Jesus Christ is God from God, light from light, true God from true God. Remembering those moments, we gather for prayer, for the reading of Scripture, for the breaking of bread. These gatherings provide us an opportunity to reflect on what we believe and to open ourselves personally to being transformed. We may not be as outwardly transfigured as Jesus was, but surely you've heard such remarks as, "She's all aglow. Did you see the way his face lit up?" As I was praying over this story of the resurrection, of the transfiguration this week, one verse struck me. Moses and Elijah were speaking with Jesus about his departure, which he was soon to accomplish in Jerusalem. Departure in Jerusalem. What were they talking about? The word departure is one translation of the Greek word exodus. And when a Jewish person hears the word exodus, the first place their mind races is to that great exodus. That transformative event when Moses led the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt and into the promised land, that land flowing with milk and honey. So what was this exodus that Jesus was about to undertake? I suggest that we move out of the clouds or the marine layer today, that we go up to the mountaintop so that we can get a picture, a bigger view of what this transfiguration might be. For Matthew, Mark, and Luke, the storyline coming around this transfiguration event are very, very similar. And it goes something like this. First, there is that multiplication of the loaves that we heard about when Jesus fed the 5,000. A truly spectacular miracle. Then Jesus asks the disciples, "Who do the people say I am?" One of the responses was Elijah, sort of setting us up for the transfiguration that's coming. And then Jesus asks the disciples, "Who do you say that I am?" Peter confesses, "You are the Christ, the Son of God." Again, moving us toward that transfiguration event. Next, there's the foretelling of Jesus' death, of his suffering, of his resurrection as well. And then there's a teaching about discipleship. If you want to follow me, pick up your cross. Follow me. And then comes that transfiguration story. After the transfiguration, there's another miracle. Jesus cures that only child who is an epileptic. And then one more announcement about his impending death and resurrection. In this sequence, the transfiguration comes strategically at a point at which Jesus was becoming more and more famous, as it was. But also when he was first beginning to remind the folks, or to teach the folks, about what it means to be obedient to God's will. The Transfiguration serves as a pivot point, as a turn in the plot line. And then we hear Moses and Elijah speaking with Jesus about his upcoming departure, his exodus from this world, his death, his resurrection. And the reference to this exodus in the Transfiguration narrative is meant to bring into clearer focus for us the mission of Jesus, which is God's great mission of reconciliation. The Transfiguration forever links the exodus of the Hebrew people with Jesus' exodus from the cross of death to the resurrection. And Jesus' exodus becomes the background upon which we need to look at our own exodus, our baptism. When Jesus led us out of death to sin into new life, into a new creation by water and the Spirit. So what are we to take away from today's gospel? How might this transfiguration scene affect us? We don't need to climb to mountains. We don't need to get out of the clouds. We don't need to have supernatural events in order to be transfigured, transformed, changed. Changed not just in our exterior physical appearance, but changed spiritually, deep down, forever. Every time we have an epiphany, an insight, perhaps just a glimpse of God's presence in our lives, we are changed. Every time we experience healing, forgiveness, love, we experience God's grace in our lives. And we are changed. And as we are changed, we change those around us. Just look at our life here together at St. David's. God is at work in our midst. Sometimes visible to many, sometimes visible to just a few. Regardless, God is transfiguring creation, now marked by suffering and death, into one marked by wholeness and new birth, right here at St. David's. Look at the many ways in which our efforts and the efforts of those we support are working to accomplish God's mission. There's the food pantry on Sunday. Community Christian Services Agency, CCSA. Back-to-school backpacks for needy kids. Oil and rice for the Episcopal Refugee Network. And then there are the many, many efforts that each of you do, both within this congregation and outside, that say to people, God is here, right now, today. Transfigurations, transformations, changes happen all the time. They happen all around us, not just in the Bible, and certainly not just on mountaintops. Look around and see that all of creation is being made new. It is being changed in our sight, in the blink of an eye. What a wonder it is to behold. What hope it inspires.